For a few thoughts now on the economy and that budget. Let's turn to Theo Paphitis, serial entrepreneur, of course, chairman of Ryman, Robert Dias, among others, former Dragon's Den star, top business person who we can talk to this morning and get his thoughts on this. Theo, thanks so much for joining us this morning. What are you hoping for from that budget? What are you afraid of?
What am I afraid of? I'm more interested in what I would like to see, to be honest with you, and that is concentration on growth, because the whole plan that the Labour Party came in with depended on growth, and we've not quite seen that. So we do need to put measures in that give us growth, but just as importantly, encourage employment. That's how we're going to gain the revenue to be able to put into our services like the NHS, the essential services, police, fire brigade, and all the things that we hold dear in this country.
Do you think that Labour has been a disappointment to British business?
I don't think Labour has been a disappointment to British business. I think they've made a few missteps, and nobody really liked the national insurance hike last year. I understand fully why the Chancellor needed to do it. She needed the money. She needed something that was a guaranteed way of bringing the money to be able to do all the things I've just mentioned. But what we need to concentrate on now is only one word, and only one word will actually give everybody what they want, and that is growth.
Do you think that the party, they obviously have prioritised growth, certainly rhetorically speaking? The Prime Minister said one of his missions was to deliver the fastest economic growth, GDP growth in the G7. Do you think that the party has a credible growth plan?
I think clearly some of the things they had to do day one don't quite meet with that. But don't forget, they took over an economy that was absolutely busted. The previous Prime Minister, Sunak, he called a general election because the economy was on its knees, and he felt he couldn't actually go to the end of his term because the economy was that bad.
Do you, in terms of looking ahead to that budget, the Chancellor's got a really difficult balancing act, hasn't she? Because on the one hand, as you say, we desperately need growth. The last thing that British business needs, or probably the economy needs, is more taxation to be an impediment on that growth. And yet, in the short term, we know, because of the revisions that are almost certain to come to growth forecasts, to borrowing requirements, that the Chancellor, and some of which is outside the Chancellor's control, global economic events, the Trump tariffs, etc., but she's going to have a significant black hole to fill if she's going to stick to her fiscal rules. How do you square that circle?
Well, I think we all agree that she's going to have to raise money in this next budget to do exactly that. It's how she raises that money and the effect of those actions on the economy and the holy grail that we keep talking about, growth.
And how do you think she should do it then?
Well, listen, I'm not the Chancellor, and we will know very soon, in a few months' time, her intentions. But the advice I would give her, and all the feedback I've given back into government, is however way the money needs to be raised, it's got to be raised in a way that it does not affect growth. It's not about me personally. It's not about you, Lewis, personally. We've got to think about the country.
Do you think that one of the bits of speculation which is starting to intensify is that the Chancellor might, even though it would go back on one of her tax pledges, might look at VAT and raising VAT? VAT is obviously an easy way to raise money in the sense that it raises money quickly and a lot of money because obviously it's a tax on nearly everything that we buy. You are yourself a very successful shopkeeper, to put it mildly. You own lots of shops and have done in the past as well. What do you think of that idea?
Well, look, obviously, there was a manifesto, and in that manifesto, they did make various claims regarding not increasing VAT, not increasing income tax. Income tax and VAT are actually two very good ways of bringing in guaranteed income into the Treasury, which is desperately needed. Now, to do that, she would have to pivot. She would have to pivot from that manifesto pledge. So the choices are, is that something that she can stomach? Is that something that the Labour Party can stomach? Not doing it and doing something that's wrong for the country, that's going to stifle growth, I think would be wrong in business. If I'm running my business and I had a business plan and the business plan wasn't working, what would I do? Lewis, I'll tell you what I would do. I would pivot, because if that's the right thing to do, that's what I would do.
We've seen the Prime Minister talking this morning about reforms policies on indefinite leave to remain. Now, obviously, there are a lot of people in this country who have indefinite leave to remain, people who've migrated here, built a life here. Reform are suggesting that some of those people would be asked to leave. Prime Minister's called that racist. Do you think that policy is racist? And do you think it's...
So you're talking to a first-generation immigrant. Yeah.
Exactly.
I always get a bit nervous when people throw words like that. I think we've got to be careful about what we say. There's certain people in certain parties that, there's no question, are selling snake oil. And what we don't want to do is have our streets full of unmarked cars, people in balaclavas with no identification, pulling people off the streets and making them disappear. That is not the United Kingdom, and that is definitely not something I would like to see coming across from America to the United Kingdom.
Do you think that's a danger? Do you think Nigel Farage is selling snake oil?
Oh, without question.
Would you be afraid of a Nigel Farage premiership government?
I'd be terrified.
Why would you be terrified?
Because of the things that he's saying. He's just following the Trump playbook, the Project 25 American playbook. We're hearing things like about people eating swans. We've heard about Trump talking about cats and dogs. We've got to cut this nonsense out. If he is a serious politician that seriously believes that he can run this country, then he's got to come up with proper policies, not nonsense.
Theo Paphitis there, very successful, one of Britain's most successful businessmen, entrepreneur, of course, formerly on Dragon's Den, saying that he's terrified of a potential Nigel Farage government.